Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Character Inspiration with Calv. This episode was requested. Thankfully, people request things, mainly because I asked, so it's nice, by Dungeon Master of Ceremonies, which is at Chase, CHASE _WL on Twitter. So he wanted to see, he might be, not be a he, hold on, let me double check. He, him, yes, okay, it is a he. Wanted to see a Dwarf Bard combo, so I will be doing a Dwarf Bard this video. So, like every time I have a good neutral evil, I will start with a good one, which I'm a fan of this race, so that's why I actually have Mordenkainen's up. So my idea was a Dwarf Bard, but it is a Duergar Bard, because I just really like Duergar for some reason. Like, they don't get any crazy abilities compared to the other dwarves, or I also think that they were severely screwed over. If you read in this book about how essentially they were psionically screwed over by the Illithids and the Master Brain thing, and then when they got back, their brethren were all like, "Well, screw you, Clan Dwarger. You did it to yourself." So victim blaming at its worst. So I have a soft spot for Dwarger. Also, you know, a lot of their abilities. Oh, I can make myself big. Oh, I can make myself invisible. Just, it makes for a lot of interesting stuff in a game. So the first one will be a Duergar Bard that is, alright, going the Whisper, because usually Whisper is considered evil, but I like the thought that this one, once again, I think the last one, I'd have to double check. I should have looked before. Let me double check. Bard. When did my last Bard? I think this was also a faction agent. Yep. So Whispers and Faction Agent kind of apparently go hand in hand for me. But the difference is that this character is a Harper. And so, let me pull that up. Yep. They thwart evil and promote fairness through knowledge rather than brute force. So the idea is essentially this character, because he's a Duergar, people assume that he's evil, so he can more easily infiltrate evil cults and evil organizations, and essentially use his Bardic Whisper abilities to kind of get information out of people. And, you know, he's a Duergar, so he can get big or go invisible, depending on the level. So, and he could take them down from the inside, essentially. He's like the ultimate infiltrator. And if my brother commented on it because he was going to play, we had an idea for a Dwarf Bard. He was going to play a Dwarf Bard, and I was going to play a half ogre rogue, and essentially his were very just weird. His Duergar Bard is essentially like an optimistic, positive bard. So it'd be funny if the two characters teamed up essentially, and so his Dwarf Bard was sent in to infiltrate organizations and took along the half ogre who was raised by halflings named Tommy Ticklefoot, and so they kind of infiltrate evil organizations and take them down from the inside, you know, through stealth and deception, and through, you know, magic, obviously, because he's a bard. So that'd be kind of interesting for a character to do, especially a Duergar. So, and I'd like, you know, on Twitter, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, they're only an evil race, you know, because, you know, originally created because of racism and all that stuff. So I have no issue with, you know, evil races being good, because I mean, if humans who are supposed to be the good guys, or elves or dwarves, normally you know, not normal dwarves, but hill dwarves or mountain dwarves, if they are always the good guy, or if they can be bad guys, then there's no reason that a Duergar or a drow or any other evil race could be a good guy. So it's always, and it always depends on the game, obviously. Some DMs are very sticklery for, like, nope, this race is evil, but I like the idea that any race can be good and any race can be bad. So that's it for the Duergar Whisper Bard. And then the next neutral, let's see, still dwarf. This one is a hill dwarf, which keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. And essentially the idea is, let me find them, lore bard, which, once again, there's only 5 bards, so it's hard to pick one that hasn't been used already. Oh no, I didn't do lore last time. Nifty. So, dwarves have and are very attached to their history. They have a long, broad history as a race, and so being a lore bard makes sense because you're essentially the character, and they're an entertainer. I went with the entertainer background, which is in here. You know, and they're a storyteller. They're a skald, I think is what they're called. That might be barbarian entertainers, but I could be wrong. I should have looked that up. But essentially, they travel around looking for lore, writing down and finding all lore about themselves, their race. So, if you're in the Forgotten Realms, then I only really know about the Forgotten Realms, so I can't say anything about Dragonlance or Greyhawk. Not also, as I'm only vaguely familiar with Eberron, which comes out the day I'm recording this. Sad face can't get it. But essentially, the character travels around looking for, like, they probably would go to, what's it called? Gauntlgrim, and, explore Gauntlgrim with permission. And essentially, they travel around to all of the different dwarven cities, and then probably that's probably where they would start, is traveling around all these dwarven strongholds that are currently have dwarves in them, to essentially take all of the lore, because they're compiling all of this lore about their race. So they would get all of the information about the different. So it'd almost be kind of like a genealogy thing too, like they can track that, because I mean dwarves generally are proud of their family tree as well. Oh, my great grandfather did this and fought in the War of Demons or whatever. So they would want to do that, keep track of all that, in writing, as well as, but then they have so many stories to tell. So I mean that's where by popular demand, they can get a free night anywhere they want, essentially, because they show up and they tell a story of this dwarven infantry unit, or this dwarven soldier who went behind enemy lines, and or who held the line against a wave of orcs during the orc invasion. So there's so much, and then could go even further back and go to any of the even older ones, especially the Duergar, if they so cared. And they're neutral, so they don't necessarily, in theory, they're because of their neutrality, they'll record the good and the bad. So if there is a family tree that were terrible, and they probably take everything with a grain of salt when they hear it from people, but then they would do the research and try to find the place and whatever. I think I don't know if want to check something. Do bards get to speak with dead? I think they do. Boom. So they can even go back to places and then talk to the people, which is even better. I mean that's way more helpful. So you don't have to be neutral with this. I just, how I do. I do one good, one neutral, one evil. Sometimes going evil is difficult because it's subjective. But I do really like the idea of a lore bard, essentially a dwarven lore bard going around and finding, like, that's what they do. And I mean, it could work well with a group if you have an entire group of dwarves. Essentially, you can have a wizard in the group too, but they're more lost. Like the bard is looking for lore for stories, whereas the wizard could be looking for old magical artifacts or magical spells that have been lost through time, or constructs, or because dwarves are crafters as well, and dwarven fighter, dwarven barbarian, those are simple. I mean, they're ideal for being a barbarian with their If you go, I think Mountain Dwarf, +2 strength, +2 con, they're some of the best, honestly. But yeah, so I really like the idea that a Dwarven Bard who travels around. And it would be really cool to have an all Dwarven team group. Or, I mean, you could have a split group. Because, I mean, maybe you also want to have, maybe you have an Elven Wizard. And they want to, also explore. So they're collecting not just because because of their long life, they could be collecting their information. I'm going to do that for Elven Wizard. Or I'm going to do Elven Wizard next, I think. Request or not. So they could travel around with this bard. The bard is collecting lore on the stories, and so are the elves. The elves want to collect old elven, civilizations, and so they're like, oh, you're doing similar things, so let's travel together. And now you have two characters, and so I mean, it opens it up. It's a character that could easily get into a group because like, oh, you guys are going this direction. I was going there too. Like, oh, you have a job to go, you know, uh, clear out this dungeon. All right. Well, I heard that there was dwarves that used to reside there or something, and so you go because you want to learn. So now I'm really tempted to play this. I personally do not like bards. I think bards are just, and I've said this before, I think, and I understand that a lot of people like bards, but I think that bards are just stupid wizards that went to drama school, and I will stand by that. But this is a cool concept. I'm I'm not opposed to cool concepts. Just because I'm not a huge fan of a class doesn't mean that I wouldn't enjoy a concept. Because this also feels more like a wizard, like a dwarven wizard, which would be also really interesting. Anyway, so that's the neutral one. As I go on for like 5-10 minutes about neutral. All right, and then the third one, and I'm changing. Oh, why did that close? I'm going through each because there's only 3 as far as I know that have been published. So I like the idea of going through sub-races. Humans didn't have any sub-races per se. They have regional races for Forgotten Realms, but other than that, they really didn't. So, sorry, and they're specifically, I think these are the Gold Dwarfs, right? Or, oh no, Gold Dwarfs are Hill Dwarfs, sorry. Shield Dwarfs. So, the evil is a Shield Dwarf, or I'm sorry, Mountain Dwarf or Shield Dwarf because it's Faerun. They're strong and hardy, accustomed to difficult life and rugged terrain. So maybe they got bitter about their life. They went, and so the idea is they're, I think swords here. Yep. College of Swords. They entertain through daring feats of weapon prowess. So maybe uh, they got into fights. They like being theatrical with their fights. And then sometimes they cross the line where it's not them just showing off. They were cruel about it. They're gloating about how much better they are than this other person. I mean, and it helps too that they get proficiency in light and medium armor. Although I don't know if bards get. I'm sure bards get light and medium armor. Light armor. Oh, so you can have a bard with medium armor. So that would be ideal, mechanically. So blades who've been in their lives as entertainers have often run into trouble that makes maintaining their secret activities impossible. Forces these skills to strike out on their own adventures. So you could be evil. Like here it says you could lead a double life, or the idea that I had because you're like showing off, and maybe you crossed a line in your town, your wherever you're from, and you killed somebody or tortured them, which when it was found out, you had to run. So, but that there are places where you can find people that like seeing other people hurt each other. So, and this is weird. I think this is the first time, probably. Oh, this might not be the first time I've chosen the same background but it's not by popular demand. Going specifically Gladiator, So essentially, you go places, underground fight rings, and you're always better than the other person because I mean you have armor and you're a dwarf, so you're sturdy, um, and you essentially you perform, and but vindictively and maliciously against people. So you perform in the ring, in an arena, and you like torturing and people. So it goes on way longer than it should, and all of the people betting are getting super hype, and then you kill them, and even though you're not supposed to, or it's frowned upon to kill them, but you don't care. You enjoy it. You enjoy killing people, good, bad, and you're indifferent about it. And so that's kind of the whole thing is you go around. I mean, the abilities don't hurt, especially with you can use it as your spell casting focus. You have a fighting style, so you can either do, dueling. So you could do sword and shield, as dwarves are usually known, and then blade flourish, which works well for an arena. Attack a second time. When you should blade flourish, option you roll d6. Yeah, so you do great in an arena because you can heal yourself, you can buff yourself. Like, oh, I accidentally hit the wrong button. So, I mean, this isn't as drawn out, but unless you're a supervillain, most evil characters don't have super complicated backstories either. Some good people, you're like, oh, I'm good because I saw somebody do something bad and I wanted to stop it, and so I decided to make my life about helping people. And some evil people just don't care and they're evil and they just do evil things. So that's what I kind of thought of this, is that you just get enjoyment out of hurting people, and so you've turned that into a way to make money. I mean, and this could be a villain, obviously, like especially if one of the people that you hurt maliciously, tortured, was one of the party members or a family member of a party member. So maybe we'll go back to, let's say, the lore bard, or no, we'll go the whisper bard. The Duergar finds out that maybe not a family member, I guess, but a friend. You know, you maliciously tortured their friend. Some of the Harpers, and so he specifically is like, nope, I'm gonna hunt you down. To take you out because you are evil. So it could be a good villain, but as a player, it's gonna be kind of a crap. I don't know. I don't like characters that just like you're. It seems like you're trying to get your rocks off in game, type of thing, like a power move, and in game it's, I don't know. Everybody wants to have fun. If it's an evil campaign, that's different. If everybody's evil, then nobody else in the group is going to care if you just like torturing people. But if you're in a good neutral general campaign and you have to be secretive about it, but you can also make money off of it. So it is what it is. Good and the bad, I suppose. So that is it. That's the 3. Yeah, I think I showed all of them. So thank you for watching. If you like these videos, please like them, subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos. Comment if you want to see different videos. If you have a request, you can find me on Twitter. You can request on Tinder. No, I'm not on Tinder. My wife would be angry if I was on Tinder. You can find me on Twitter at Calvy Gaming. On Twitter. Let me make sure there's no Calv Gaming, not Calvy Gaming. There's no S in mine on Twitter. But at Calvy Gaming on Twitter, you can just either message me or tweet at me. Or I even posted a status about this. So you could be like, hey, you should do a video about this race class combo. And this was specifically requested because Dwarven Bards aren't common. And so it's been fun coming up with interesting Dwarven Bards. I think I think I'm going to put the lore Bard on my list of ones that I want to play at some point, because that seems like a lot of fun to me. Maybe not necessarily neutral, but that seems like it would be a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. Yeah. Make sure you hit the bell, ding, so that you get notifications about when more of my character inspiration videos come out. Which I try to do them, but it's a lot mentally and emotionally because I get very attached to characters. So it's a lot emotionally to build a character. Although it's also usually I'm the one coming up with them. So I'm like, oh, what do I want to build? Okay, so I'm going through, kind of going through the motions, and then I'm putting all this effort into building these essentially 3 characters. I mean, if you look at the 12 videos, this one will be 13, I believe. That's 3 race or 3 variants within the race class combo times 3 times 13. That's 39 characters that I've built in the year and a half that I've been doing this. Like, that's a lot to emotionally put into a character. So it's a lot more fun when somebody else picks the race and the class for me. So that way I don't have to think everything up. Yeah. Anyway, after babbling on it for a while, I'll see you guys next time. Cowboy out.